Guys, it's your boy, Barça Boy 103. Today we're going to be doing the match preview for Newcastle United versus Football Club Barcelona in the first round of the group stage in the Champions League, the penultimate trophy in which Barcelona have been searching for and trying to win now for God knows how long. We're back again, trying to win it again. Yet another tough affair for Barcelona. Probably one of the more difficult matches that we do have in this group stage phase. Away to Newcastle, it is going to be quite the tough match and a very, very hard match to even kick off the Champions League campaign for Barcelona tomorrow in the UK. Huge match. Very, very difficult match. A match which I think is probably the most challenging during this group stage phase. Before we get into it, make sure you guys smash that like button down below and let's try and get to 200 likes on this video. It would be very much appreciated. And also, if you are new, make sure you subscribe down below if you haven't already, and let's get into it. Kickoff time for this match will be taking place at 9 p.m. local time, so regular kickoff time in the Champions League, and this match will be taking place at St. James Park, which of course is the home of Newcastle United, all the way in the Midlands, all the way at the top of the UK. Very, very hostile atmosphere. I think the capacity of the stadium is like 55, 65,000, somewhere around there. Very, very hostile. The Barcelona fans are going to be up in the top left corner, far away, and probably have little to no impact on what will happen in the match. And speaking of the travel time, of course, this game will be kicking off 9 p.m. UK time. Game will probably finish around 11 o'clock midnight, and instead of returning to Barcelona during Thursday evening / Friday early morning, the club will plan to leave the next day. Deportivo came out saying that Barcelona will not return to Barcelona until Friday, the day after the match against Newcastle, to avoid a late night trip. They will train at Newcastle's ground on Friday morning and then take their flight. Don't forget, we play on Sunday against Getafe, so the turnaround Thursday to Sunday is quite rapid. So they're going to stay in Newcastle, sleep there, wake up in the morning, train in their facilities, and then fly over to Barcelona. Probably get around Barcelona around, late lunchtime. I'm thinking like 3 to 5 p.m., somewhere around there. Something to keep in mind, of course, for tomorrow. And the referee for this match has been confirmed on the pitch. It will be the Swedish referee, Glenn Neberg, and on the VAR, it will be the French referee, Germain Bressard. Now, of course, this is the second edition of the league group phase for the Champions League, where Barcelona will be playing 8 matches, 6 this year and then 2 in January of 2026. Of course, in the draw, we got PSG, Frankfurt, Olympiacos, Copenhagen, Chelsea, Bruges, Slavia Prague, and Newcastle. A quite balanced draw, I think. You have some tough games, you have some easy ones. I wouldn't say it's too difficult or too easy, but how the schedule played out in terms of the order is maybe where the difficulty comes in. You probably have, I would say, in my opinion, the 2 toughest matches in the first 2 games. Newcastle away, then PSG at home. By far, in my opinion, the 2 hardest games. Then you have Olympiacos at home, Club Brugge away, Chelsea away, Frankfurt at home, Slavia Prague away, and then Copenhagen at home to end it off. So those 2 games in January have to be the easiest 6 points I've ever seen in my life. I think Frankfurt will be a difficult one, but at home we should be probably back at the Camp Nou by then, so that should be okay. Stamford Bridge, you never know. I think the last time we played there was a 1-1 game. Willian had an absolute masterclass playing like prime Pele. Club Brugge away should be difficult, but but I think in the end will be manageable. But it's those first 2 games. I think, to be honest, our Champions League success in terms of the league phase will be defined in these first 2 games. If we get 4 out of 6, absolutely monumental. What I think we'll get, maybe 3 out of 6. I think this start is very, very difficult. I would say I could even make the case that Newcastle tomorrow is probably a harder game than PSG will be in 2 weeks time. But this is the reason why this schedule is hard, because we have the 2 hardest games in the first 2 matches. And then, of course, if you don't pick up maximum points, you're gonna have to go and win the other 6. And then the other 6, of course, you have Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge, which won't be easy as well. But this schedule, the way it's panned out, you look at this draw, you're thinking, you know what, it's manageable. Olympiacos, Frankfurt, Copenhagen, Slavia, Bruges. But then when you see how it played out and where they're placed, it does make it that extra bit challenging. Let's now take a look at our opponents in Newcastle. This will be the first time in my lifetime as a Barcelona fan that I'll be watching Barcelona take on Newcastle, I believe, in any sort of capacity whatsoever. Of course, Newcastle, a very historic team in the UK. The last time we actually played them was, of course, in the Champions League. We've only played them 4 times before, and they've all been in group stage Champions League action. You have, of course, the first one in the 97-98 season in Group C. Of course, you have 1 home game, 1 away game. We lost the away game actually 3-2, won the home game 1-0. Then we got them in the group stages again in Group A in the 2002-2003 season, and we won both at home at the Camp Nou 3-1, and we actually won away at St. James's Park 2-0. The last time we played them was at their home stadium, where we won 2-0 as well. So maybe that's a bit of encouraging signs there, but maybe at that time they weren't really entering their prime. Newcastle, I think their prime was probably, what I remember is like 2004 to 2007 ish. That's when they were, in the peak that I've seen them be anyway. So again, we do have the record over them. We have 3 wins and 1 loss against them, so not too bad. If you look at their start so far to the season in the Premier League, actually not the greatest in terms of their standard. They played 4 games, have 1 win, 1 loss, and 2 draws. Currently sat in 10th place on 5 points for a team that is predicted and touted to be at least in the top 6. Not the greatest start, but again, you have to look at the opponents, which you will look at right now. In the last match, they beat Wolves 1-0. They drew 0-0 with Leeds, losing 3-2 to Liverpool, drawing 0-0 with Aston Villa. Then you have there the 2 preseason games. So their start has been quite difficult. Aston Villa away, Liverpool at home. Of course, Leeds, newly promoted team, they probably should have won that game. And then Wolves, they did win, but not really in countable fashion. But let's take a look at those last 3 games in all competition in the Premier League. Firstly, the 3-2 loss to Liverpool. Very, very entertaining game. Of course, I assume that a lot of you guys did watch it. I only watched the highlights, and of course, I was, keeping track of how the game actually went. Liverpool, I believe, were the dominant force. Of course, Anthony Gordon, one of their star players up front, did pick up an early red card with a tackle on Virgil van Dijk. I believe Liverpool, if I'm not mistaken, went 2-0 up in this game, and then Newcastle brought it back the 2-2, and the 17-year-old came off the bench in the 90th minute, ended up scoring. But really what I want to highlight in this game is the resilience of Newcastle, being 2-0 down to the Premier League champions and still coming back 2-2 with 10 men. Not only that's how good they are, but also how powerful they can be at home. In the end, they still lost, of course, but that comeback, if it's against Barcelona, it's gonna be serious question mark. So good performance, good heart, good display despite the loss here from Newcastle. Next up, 0-0 draw against Leeds. Quite a disingenuous performance from Newcastle. Of course, they've had a few injuries. They lost Alexander Isak on deadline day. They had the suspension of Anthony Gordon. So they went with a more conservative approach in this game in the 5-3-2 formation, which isn't really what Eddie Howe likes to do too much. They didn't really create too many chances up front. Their front line was quite weak, especially their phases in terms of entering the final third. They defended quite well. Leeds had a few opportunities. I think Leeds, based on the run of play, probably deserved to win the game over Newcastle. But again, when they can, they do like to defend and hold on to Leeds. I don't think that's what they're trying to do in this game. I think, of course, they're trying to go out there and get the win. But when they know how to adapt to opponents, they use that to their strength. So disappointing result for Newcastle, but maybe against the situation and what happened in the last game, stuff like that, maybe they would take it. But against Leeds and newly promoted side, they should be winning that game. And the last match in all competition, 1-0 win against Wolves. Their summer signing has come in, Nick Voltamade, coming in to replace Alexander Isak. I actually did watch this game because I knew we were going to play Newcastle, and honestly speaking, quite a even game. You see Wolves really going at Newcastle, trying to challenge them to the best of their ability at St. James's Park as well. I think Voltamade scored around the 27th, 30th minute mark. Still a very good performance from Newcastle, but Wolves really had put it, in their own. The goal that came in, of course, from a cross and a header at the far post to the goalkeeper's near post. I would say that, I wouldn't say they were lucky in this game. I think they had a fair shout to win this game, but Wolves had multiple opportunities to even nick a point from this game, which shows some of the weakness that Newcastle do have. Now on the screen right now is the line that I believe that Eddie Howe, the Newcastle manager, will select for this match. I think he'll go with a 4-3-3 with Nick Pope in goal, a back four of Kieran Trippier, Dan Burn, Fabian Schär, and Livramento, a midfield 3 of Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and Joelinton, front 3 of Jacob Murphy, Nick Voltamade, and Anthony Gordon. I think honestly this team is very easy to predict. I think that back five, midfield three is rock solid. Where they do have some options is in that front line. Will he either start Jacob Murphy or maybe go with his new summer signing in Anthony Alenga, who didn't start the last few games? That's why I kind of felt like maybe Jacob Murphy would get the nod ahead of him. Still a very decent player as well. In the midfield, they do have some options, but they are currently injured in Jacob Ramsey. In the back line, they of course have Steve Voltman that they could use. In terms of their fullback, I think one of them is currently injured. I forget who the name of it, but it doesn't really ring a bell at the moment. But I think the only question mark really is in that front line. Will they go with Anthony Gordon or Jacob Murphy? And the rest of the team is pretty much rock solid. He could go with the back five, really keep it conservative, maybe sacrifice Jacob Murphy, I would say, for a center back. Maybe put in Livramento in the defense and then bring in Lewis Hall, something like that. That can definitely be an option depending on how Eddie Howe wants to approach this game. But this is the very, very confident line of prediction from myself, and this is the line that I think that Newcastle will select for this game. So overall, final thoughts on Newcastle. They're a very, very good side, very well managed by their manager Eddie Howe, who's done sensational work with Newcastle, winning their first trophy in over 70 years last season by winning the League Cup. He brought them to, I think, relegation candidates to, Champions League consistently, and of course a trophy as well. A very, very good manager, especially when you give him the tools to work with. I think he's a very adaptive manager as well in terms of, maybe La Liga. I would compare him to, a prime Unai Emery, something like that, I would say. But his football is very adaptable. They're not really a super clear identity. They have a way of playing, of course, but they do like to, adapt to the opponents that they end up playing. In terms of players to look out for, of course, they have multiple high-level players. Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali, Voltame is going to be a huge issue for us. Anthony Gordon as well. Their backline, I think, is gettable. They do have physicality and height, but they do lack a bit of pace. If we have some pace in behind, then we can definitely exploit that. Kieran Trippier is not going to be, back in his prime days, so he can definitely be got. I think Livramento is a very, very good fullback, so maybe, highlight more so that right-hand side of Newcastle. Nick Pope is a very tall goalkeeper as well. I wouldn't say he's, world-class per se, but definitely can be got at. It's a very, very good team. It's going to take a lot of, heart, gut, high-quality football from Barcelona to beat this team in general, but to beat them at home especially. Let's now get into the squad list. The squad list for this match has been released and confirmed. It is as follows: Joan Garcia, Szczesny, Kounde, Araujo, Barça, Christensen, Gerard Martin, Kounde, Eric Jeffrey Torrens, Pedri, Fermin, Casado, Olmo, De Jong, and Bernal, Varane, Lewandowski, Raphinha, Rashford, Rooney, and Tony Fernandes. So a few missing parts to this team, of course. Firstly, no Ter Stegen, no Gavi, no Balde. Those three we already knew. Positive inclusion is Frankie de Jong has received the medical clearance this morning, will travel, hopefully has the ability and the fitness to start the game as well. Bad news, no Lamine Yamal, the best player in the world, will not be traveling to Newcastle and playing for Barcelona. According to reports, he might even miss the next two games against Getafe this weekend on Sunday and then Real Oviedo on Thursday. The goal for him is to be 1,000,000,000% ready for that PSG game, which means he's going to be aiming more so for that Real Sociedad game. As long as he's 1,000,000% fit for PSG, I will take it. I think we can definitely survive without him in these games. It's going to be tough, especially against Getafe's Haram football. Real Oviedo, away from home is going to be difficult. We saw Madrid choke there their first game of the La Liga season. I do think we have the quality to overcome that, but this is going to be a big loss if he's not there for the PSG game, which I think he will be. They don't want to, rush him back because there's a high risk of relapse, but no Lamine Yamal against Newcastle. Let's now get into the lineup prediction. We're going to start with the manager, of course, Hansi Flick. I'm going to try my best to predict this lineup. I think it will be fairly straightforward to predict. There are a few question marks heading into this game, and I believe that Hansi Flick will select this lineup on the screen right now with Joan Garcia in goal, a back four of Jules Kounde, Eric Garcia, Pau Cubarsí, and Gerard Martin, a midfield three of Frankie de Jong, Pedri, and Fermin Lopez, a front three of Raphinha, Lewandowski, and Marcus Rashford. Of course, no Lamine. What's Flick gonna do? There are a few options. He could maybe potentially put Olmo / Fermin on the wings, maybe go ballsy and start Rooney Bargi, but I think he will go with Rashford off the left. Of course, Rashford has played Newcastle at St James's Park so many different occasions, so does have a little bit of that experience. Go with Rafa on the right. I think he has to go with Firmin in the 10 ahead of Olmo. He got a brace over the weekend. It'd be hard to drop him, although Flick is the kind of manager to drop him, but I still think he will go with Firmin. I think he will start De Jong as well. I wouldn't mind Casado in this game. I think Flick's like, you know what, I chose not to play Frankie over the weekend. I want to play him in this game. Backline is actually where the big question mark comes in. Will he bring in Araujo and Christensen? Of course, they're a very tall center back. They have a very tall striker up front. Will we maybe see Eric Garcia get shifted back into right back? The only, I think, guarantee in this back five is Joan Garcia and Gerard Martin. I don't think he won't start. Yeah, Torrens. So those are probably the only two guarantees. I would say maybe Kubarsi, but maybe who else is going to be beside Kubarsi? Maybe he will drop Kubarsi. He's already done that this season. But the back five going into this game is where the question mark comes in, and maybe that one in the front line. So wait and see what Flick does decide. But this in line, I think the Hansi Flick will select for this match. But of course, in the comments down below, let me know what you think Flick will go with. Now I'm going to show you guys my lineup, what I would do if I was the Barcelona coach, and you bet your ass there are going to be a few changes from Flick's lineup prediction, because I have gone with this lineup on the screen right now with Joan Garcia in goal, a back four of Jules Kounde, Pau Kubarsi, Andreas Christensen, and Gerard Martin, a midfield three of Pedri, De Jong, and Fermin Lopez, a front three of Raphinha, Lewandowski, and Dani Olmo. So in the defense, I have gone with Christensen instead of Eric Garcia. Reason being is for the height. I noticed that the height difference between Araujo and Christensen is only 0.01 meters, which is, next to nothing. I think we do need to start one of them. If you want to go with both as well, I wouldn't mind that either. A bit risky because I really want Kubarsi to start this game, but you have to start with one of Christensen or Araujo. Kubarsi and Eric are just too short for Nick Voldemade, and we all know that Barcelona's kryptonite is those tall target man strikers. They absolutely do a number over us on every single occasion. So one of them have to start. I'm going with Christensen. I could have put Eric Garcia at right back, but I do prefer Jules Kounde. Midfield three, the exact same. I would start with Firmin in the 10 after his great performance against Valencia. In the front line, I have put Dani Olmo on the wing. You're probably thinking, Barca boy, Rashford has the experience, he has the pace. You said that you like playing players in the natural position. All correct. But Rashford has been shit. He has been absolutely pants since coming to Barcelona. Yes, he got a Fugazi assist against Valencia. I still think his Valencia performance was absolutely horrific. Not horrific, but poor. I would say definitely below average. He has not shown me enough in his Barcelona campaign to warrant a start against Newcastle. If he was, prime Rashford, you bet your ass I would start him. If he was at least performing semi-decently, I would. But those touches against Valencia, those poor decision makings, I do not want against Newcastle, especially away from home. So I'd put Dani Olmo on the wing. I wouldn't go with Rooney Bargi either. I was thinking that I really want to keep Rafa on the left as well, and I would rather put Rafa on the right and then put Dani Olmo in. It's either this or Rafa on the left and then Rooney Bargi, and I don't think Rooney Bargi is quite ready to start St James's Park away against Newcastle. So this would be the lineup that I would go with. I think, to be honest, is probably our best lineup, maybe barring if you want to put your, balls to the walls, putting Araujo instead of Kubarsi. But my main point here is, firstly, no Rashford, and secondly, one of Christensen or Araujo have to start. But this is the lineup I would select for this match. But of course, in the comments down below, let me know if you'd rather pick my lineup or Flick's lineup. Time now for my score prediction. What do I believe the result will be in this match? I hate score predictions in big games because y'all get on my ass when I don't predict a Barcelona win, and that's what I have today here. My official prediction is that Barcelona will not win this game. Could be a draw, could be a loss, but I don't think we will win. This script has, again, I hope we win. I think we have the capabilities to win this game. I'm going to pray for the next 24 hours that we do win this game. But if I was putting, the house on the line, my mortgage, my life, I would go with Barcelona not winning. Everything here is set up for Barcelona not to get points, whether it be the difficult away stadium, European competition against a good team, missing our best player, coming up against a target man striker. It all has the cases and the arguments that Barcelona will not win. On top of all of that, we've had a fairly mid the poor start to the season. Yes, we played really well for the second half against Valencia, but that was it. Nothing this season has shown me that we can go to Newcastle away, first game of the UCL campaign, and win. Of course, this was maybe the middle or the end, maybe December, January. I'd be way more confident. But what I've seen so far this season, the Newcastle team, the venue, our mentality in Champions League games, we are group stage FC, but I would be shocked if we win this game, especially win this game. If we go out there and pummel them 3-0, 4-0, 3-1, 4-1, I would be shocked. And the only way we win this game is going to be a narrow win, whether it be a 2-1, 1-0. Maybe they go up 1-0, then we make a comeback and we win 2-1. It's going to be a close game, I think, if Barcelona win it. I think that we have the capabilities to win it. We're definitely, of course, the better team. 9 times out of 10, we beat them. 10 out of 10, we probably beat them in a neutral venue. But away, Newcastle, opening UCL game for them as well. It just has everything that Barcelona are not going to win. I do have this game written down as my one game that Barcelona will not win during the UCL campaign group stages as well. It just kind of sucks as come for the first game, but I pray to God I'm wrong. Don't come at me in the comments. Again, I love Barcelona. I want them to win, but if you put a gun to my head to decide, my prediction is that I don't think Barcelona will win this game. But of course, in the comments down below, let me know what you think the scoreline will be. So that was a match preview for Newcastle United versus Barcelona in the Champions League group stage. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, of course, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, in the comments down below as well, let me know your thoughts on everything we did discuss. The main thing on our firstly, of course, is your score prediction. And secondly, on those lineups. Firstly, which I pick my lineup or Flick's lineup. What do you think Flick will go with? What would you go with if you're the manager? Leave me all your thoughts down below. And of course, make sure you guys subscribe down below as well if you haven't already. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the live watch along. Set the reminder on the screen and come and join me and watch the game with me. Follow after the match by my match review. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Big game ahead. Let's pray we get the 3 points. Take care and Forza Barça.